I was an agent at CAA, so a recovering agent, where I help build businesses for talent and brands and different media companies in tech. And so grew up in LA, Harvard for college, came right back because this is where all my family was. And if anybody has any questions, we can do an hour-long jam session on AMA. And we have first guest, who's a buddy that I've blabbed with before. Here are going to be the rules really quick. Just give me a quick second on who you are if you jump into the show, and then hit your question. Saul, rip it.
Cool. Hey, I'm Saul. First of all, Matt was very humble over there. If you watch his recent interview with Mark Suster, you could hear a lot more about his background. It's really interesting. I suggest everybody watch it just because it's always interesting to hear these stories. But I founded a company called Miner, working on that, looking at some other things as well. TBD, don't want to get too into that. But my question was, and I posted this earlier, what's the one investment you're most proud of, and how did you find that deal?
One investment I'm most proud of. There's a company that we invested into. It's one of the first ones that I did. Coming into Lowercase, I think people expected me to do almost entirely media investments, just because that's what my background was, and it was very explicitly not what I was just going to focus on. And so I found a company founded by a guy named Scott Crouch, and if you've had the chance to hear Scott speak, he was at Fortune this year and spoke a little bit. The company's called Mark 43, and it's building technology to help better power law enforcement in the field. And they've rolled out to a couple big markets. Scott's an absolute animal.
Washington, D.C. was market number one. I know them because they presented at First Mark's data-driven event.
Yeah, so I don't know how much of that is public, but they've done a pretty big rollout of their first major market. So basically, like, there's a lot of challenges when you sell into GovTech. You have municipalities, you have these crazy long lead times. It can be a real pain in the ass to work with local governments. Their first deployment in DC, incredible. I'm sure Scott's going to give a lot more data on it. But it's a great mission. It's helping put cops back on the street. If you were a cop, working up until Mark 43 came out, you're basically working on a DOS prompt. Whenever you filled an arrest, you had to go back to the station. You had to fill out, sit in front of these terminals that looked like Windows 95. And it would take 90 minutes to fill an arrest report, not including travel time. And Scott's technology drops that down dramatically. And we've just done early numbers on the success of that. That'll let him eventually give the data on. But
it was an average of like 400 questions, right, that you had to go through to fill out an arrest report for like the simple things. And these guys are totally changing that.
Now it's all done. Now you can do it almost entirely in the field using basically cops are used to having sort of best-in-class technology when it comes to like Grubhub and ordering a car through Uber. And then they're stuck with like the worst enterprise SaaS software ever when they're filing arrest reports. And so how do you reimagine these really old, dirty industries that have just never had this kind of technology layered in? Scott's a beast. They won the Harvard Entrepreneurship Contest. So the second part of your question was, how did I find them? Another alum introduced me to those guys. They were 21 years old and had built this platform and started deploying it for some police forces in Mass. And it was just a no-brainer. Really awesome mission, great founder, crazy hustle, technically brilliant. And honestly, he ran the first board meeting like somebody who was like 10 years, 30 years hardened by the tech industry. It was one of the best run board meetings I'd ever seen. And so I'm proud of it. I think it's a great mission, and it's in a category that I don't think gets a ton of love. So I'm all for it.
How do you look at something like Fix next to that?
What?
How do you look at something like Fix, which recently got shut down by the municipality in San Francisco, where they were also trying to take on government?
I saw that. Honestly, I didn't dive in too hard on it. I was just hoping you could fix a bunch of my parking tickets.
Cool. Thanks for the question,
dude. We're gonna keep this going. All right. I don't know what. Call in. Bang. Let's see if this is working. Sorry, we're figuring this out, guys. Just bear with me. Shot pitch is coming in. I don't know what that is. I didn't see their question first. I'm being a little aggressive. This could be crazy. Hopefully this isn't going to turn into one of those crazy Reddit AMAs. Yo, shot pitch.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. This is Prashant here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We all hear you. What's going on, man?
Yeah. So, Matt, it's night here in India, so you might not be able to see me properly.
Where in India are you?
Bangalore.
Bangalore, cool. I was there when I first joined Lowercase. Chris told me that I had to wash the suit off And so he said, go travel somewhere you've never been. I spent a month and change in India traveling around. I didn't make it to Bangalore, but I loved it over there. My best friend in college is running the largest talent agency in Bollywood. It's an incredible place.
Great. I hope to see you back in India sometime soon.
Yep.
So, Matt, my question is, having done so many market investments in the field, how does a typical day of a VC or an angel for that matter looks like? Because I'm doing some research in this field. I would love to hear your perspective, because there are a lot of people. When I meet VCs and angels, they say that they don't really have any time in the day, and I totally respect that. But just to give a hint on what it looks like would be great.
Yeah, those people who are complaining about the life of a VC are full of shit. Let's do time breakdown first. So before I dive into like an average day. So my life is split kind of like a third, a third, a third. 1/3 is finding and identifying and meeting with new potential investments. 1/3 helping and servicing our existing portfolio, and about another third on like fund management, conferences, networking. Sorry, I'm getting a call. These are like the technical difficulties of trying to blab. So it's 1/3, new companies, 1/3 existing portfolio, and 1/3 like going out and basically doing a blab on product hunt, going to conferences, writing a post, whatever the case may be. Average day, I think all of this differs for a lot of people. If you ask my average day versus Saka's average day, like totally different. I kind of get high going and meeting people and love that part of this job. And so I do an exorbitant number of like coffees. I'm probably the best caffeinated VC you'll ever meet. I love that moment of like meeting people and like being in person. It doesn't scale well. It's probably it'd be better for my inbox if I did way less of that. But it's a combination of like coffees. I don't have an office. You're literally sitting in the house. Hey guys.
Okay.
So it's not an office. It's not a conference room. We don't have a ton of analysts. There's not a lot of board meetings. We don't have a ton of internal process meetings. It's like meeting entrepreneurs, helping and jamming with our companies, and then like having a lot of like one-on-one and small group sessions with people and talking about product.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt, for that. One small thing as the last thing.
Go for it.
So how often do you end up replying to cold mails and to cold calls as an investor?
You got to stand out pretty well to do cold emails. I honestly think that cold emailing somebody today is a sign of like lack of hustle. There's so many ways to get intro to me or to Chris or to almost anybody nowadays. It's like it's ridiculous how like that is just such a low bar to get a cold email from somebody when they know they could like go and find somebody else and like get an introduction. Like nobody has time today for cold emails, literally nobody. So it's got to be like an incredibly like standout email, thoughtful, well written, like puts the content front and center, has an immediate ask. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. Not to say we don't take, like we're not investing in companies where I don't have a direct connect. Like I'll reach out, if I see a product I love. That you don't have to know us to get that stuff done. It's just the filters are so prevalent now that it's getting a cold is like maybe a sign of like a or a lack of hustle. Anyway.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for that.
You're awesome. Have a good one, dude.
Thank you so much.
Let's keep going. Cancel. I'm going to kick you. It sounds violent to kick you, but I'm doing it. All right. So Eric Tornberg I'm going to do a couple of these like from the side column, which has comments or questions from people. What's something you and Saka disagree on? This one actually, we're just getting into it. Like he and I disagree a ton on like the value of meetings and coffees and that kind of stuff. I'm a firm believer that like that's how you build really great loose ties, and those ties end up breeding sort of a great deal flow, great sort of muscle memory around what's happening out there. Way better to get like insight from people. Chris is sort of a firm believer in asynchronous. The best way to get a response from Chris is like DMs and then text message and like email maybe then, and then like way down there is like phone call and FaceTime. I'll give him the credit that like he also barbells out, so he would way rather do like a deep weekend dive with people or take an entrepreneur to Camp Lowercase, which is like our little spot in Truckee where he literally like we'll have entrepreneurs up and get to know them over a course of a weekend and get way deeper with them. I love meeting people. This can be a lonely job when it's just like you and Chris, and we don't have like an office. And so I love getting out there and having conversations with people and like doing it in person. It's where I do my best jam. It's where I do like my best thinking, is having like somebody to bounce ideas off of. And so different ways of managing time. Like when he first tried to get me in to the job, he was like, hey, here are a bunch of hacks for how to avoid meetings. And I was like, what do you mean avoid meetings? Like, I love meetings. And so, yeah, there's this like war on meetings. I kind of enjoy it. FaceTime is a fun time. Anyway, let's keep these call-ins going. Investor, serial entrepreneur, diehard Knicks fan. I don't know if I can buy that, but Brandon Rubenstein, you're coming in. And then we'll do you, Niv. Brandon, what's going on, man?
I spoke to a lot of investors, and everyone's really critical about solo founders. For me, it's really difficult to find someone as motivated as me and that's willing to put as much time as I'm willing to put in my own project. So it's really difficult for me to find like a co-founder or something like that. But yet I execute. So what's your view? I still haven't launched my product. What's your view on a solo founder pre-seed?
I think first round has a lot of data on this, and actually a lot of people have put data on this. That's just like overwhelmingly in favor of. I think 2 is the optimal number. It's like drop off at 3, I believe. But like 2, you have somebody going with it. The emotional toll of somebody. You know this probably better than anybody because you're probably going through it now. But like, it's really hard, right? You're working your brains out, and so to having somebody there and empathizing with you. Who's in the same seat and has the same incentives and alignment, and you can push each other. Like, that's a way more sort of a fun way to go through life. But I get you on like having, finding somebody who's motivated in that same direction as you and like has your sort of feel for the product or the market or your drive, like really, really hard. You're gonna have that challenge with anybody you bring onto the team though. And so, we do both. We've invested in single founder businesses. We don't have a religion around it, but the numbers show that like it's a way stronger investment thesis that you could actually like, the first round article I think said it all.
I mean, I've built a team, but I just head it by myself.
Yeah, I think that's possible. You need to like you need to surround yourself with people who can empathize with you, who are there from the beginning and are incentivized along the same line. Start to make yourself obsolete as fast as possible in categories of the business that you're not great at. And so find people who are 1,000 times better than you in those categories and like immediately incentivize them correctly and outsource that to all of them. And so like that's kind of like founder, that should be your job as a founder, period, is just bring on people who are way better than you in all of those categories, right? But like I would start by focusing on things that you don't like doing rather than avoiding doing them. And so
that's exactly.
Like you have to just like if you get this like itch where it's like I'm procrastinating on something, like that's a hire, right? Like those things that like you're not superhuman at and you don't love doing, get rid of them faster than anybody. And you have to do that more quickly, right? That's the benefit of the co-founding teams is you can complement each other really well. And it's like some people might love the organization, some people might love the brand building. There's also just a ton that goes into this. So you're gonna have to like, I don't know if you're a micromanager too, but that's like a lethal cocktail of a lot of the founders I know are just absolute maniacs when it comes to control. And so you got to do whatever.
Because I feel like the people that are around you are very similar to me. I mean, the people that are around me are very similar to me. So bringing on somebody as a co-founder that's similar to me is just.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the move at all, right? You got to, if you're going to do it, bring on a co-founder that's like similar in the sense of like work ethic, fine, but similar in the sense of skill set. Like that's a challenge, right? You often want to see like skill sets that are complementary in early co-founding teams.
Thanks again.
Hey, take it easy, Brandon. I like your hockey reference. Islanders are cool. Bye. All right, this is fun. Let's keep it going. And by the way, I'm reading some of these things on the side. So if you guys are digging this, great. It's kind of an experiment. We'll keep it going. Niv, who's a Meerkat legend.
Hey.
Niv, introduce yourself, bud.
Hi everyone, I'm Neve. I am formerly of Meerkat, and this is my second week of Product Hunt, although I am live from San Diego.
Product Hunt?
I emailed you.
I missed your email. I'm an ass. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is my second week.
Congrats, dude.
Thank you. I'm really
Oh my God, the Hoover Tornberg Niv combo.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. The
I
world
was
may not be
grinning-
right.
I was grinning for like a good 20 minutes when Ryan called me. Like it was
Good. Dive in, man. What's your question?
So Twitter Moments, super excited about it. But what do you make of it kind of so early on? Personally, I think that like the format of the content seems off because like it's inherently vertical, but then it's so zoomed in and out, and the tweets, like, I don't know. So what do you make of it like so quickly?
Yeah, let's dive in. A bunch of thoughts. So no question, beautiful visually, right? Like really amazing. Gives Twitter this like crazy visual quality. It feels like a photorealistic like photos and videos, living magazine. People called it like the newspaper for everything. I like that description of it, but like it almost doesn't do it justice in the sense that it's like more than that. It's so much more visually pleasing than any newspaper or media property we've seen. I think there's missing pieces of the product, but it's early, right? So like V1 of most products is a work in progress. You sort of force a higher standard on companies like Twitter, but I kind of love that they're going back to this route of like, let's launch shit, get it out, see how people are interacting with it. I think that speaks really well for it.
Well, Twitter polls too. I love they launched that to some people. I want to get active already.
I think there are misses, right? Like the fact that you can't like instantly follow in that ecosystem, and like the retweets and faves and like that stuff isn't built natively into it. Strange product decisions. Hoover made a couple of those points. I thought they were really interesting and smart. You know, the one thing that struck me was like, I kind of feel like it could have been a different product entirely. Like I feel like you could have broken moments out a la Facebook strategy of unbundling and created like maybe versions of moments within like the Twitter feed. But I actually think it could have been a totally separate app. And like the advantages of that would have been, you can focus on a great form factor there. You can create an entirely different follow graph for categories. You can still weave it into the narrative, weave it into the product and the timeline of Twitter. But you can actually build notifications maybe in a different way. Like you might have had, you know, part of the rationale I think for why they broke Messenger out of Facebook was like the notification challenges of like you have to get 100% of your notifications, but nobody can do the notifications.
And that's what with Meerkat and Periscope. The notifications are such a key part of the distribution.
Totally.
And moments, especially like the best parts of moments are the live ones, like the sports games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would have loved to see it. Like, I think there's still a lot they can do with it within the core Twitter app. I love this idea. I think the narrative of Twitter is all of these media platforms that are all tied to the public graph, and reframing the narrative of like Twitter is the public graph, but it's like really, really rich content in Vine and Periscope and Moments, and like go down the list of all the things that like used to exist in Facebook, but you could literally like explode those out into different product categories, with the fundamental shift being that it's a public graph versus a private graph. I think that's actually a narrative that they could go down. But I love that they launched it. I love that they pushed it out there. I've been playing with it. It's beautiful. I dig it, and hopefully more to come. And hopefully they make some of these iterations in terms of like getting the product out there. You're the man, Niv. Congrats on new role, dude.
Thank you.
Abe, let's bring you in. Abe Story. And you got to introduce yourself and go through the whole thing. This is the Blab product's really beautiful. Abe.
How you doing, Matt?
Abe, you handsome man. Talk to me.
Thank you. I'm Abe. I'm a student entrepreneur, and I have a few questions for you. First off, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Of course.
My first question would be, what advice would you give someone as a senior in high school or an 18-year-old very interested in the tech and Silicon Valley space?
What advice would I give?
Yeah. What advice would you give to yourself during that time?
I guess what advice would I give to myself? You know, 18 is an interesting moment, right? Like you're right. Are you going to college? Go to college.
I'm applying.
Okay, first step, go to college. All this like stop going to college thing, no, don't do that. Go to college. It's worth it. You'll build great relationships. At 18, you'll find a lot about yourself. You'll be happier. The whole skip college thing is BS. Don't listen to that. That said, there's a lot you can do while you're in school to like continue to pursue your passion and build skill sets, right? And so like focus on building hard skill sets. Try to learn, if you're thinking about like tech and you want to be on the engineering side, it's not a bad path to go down. Find things that like make you an interesting person. So like, don't just like try to dive into tech. I think like There's a lot that can come from like service jobs, that can come from travel international, that can come from those things. Like the next few years are a good period of time for you to focus in on like building yourself into a more compelling person that people want to be around and have conversations with and think critically. Like those are great skills to build for the next 4 years for you. Mentorship, number one. Sorry, that should have been number one on the list. Like identify individuals that you can start to add value to, and will take you on as mentors. That can be professors, that can be advisors, that can be upperclassmen. Recognize that like that kind of mentorship can come from a lot of people. Don't try to climb too fast. Like don't try to rush out of school. Don't try to get out of it. If you're going to go to college, like you'll have a lot of people who are at your level. There's this tendency to like focus on like the bigger people in tech, like build core relationships with the people that you're coming up with, and like and spend a lot of time managing at your level and down to build great friendships. Like those things will last you forever. And in my case, like I went to college with Sam Lessin, who was at Facebook for a long time and now is building his own startup, and he's at Slow Ventures. I went to college with Joe Green, who has done a ton of stuff in tech, and Jessica Lessin. And like, it didn't start with a focus on like, hey, let's network and be future tech buddies together. It was like, hey, we're just going to find great friendships and people that we care about, and together you become better people. So hopefully that answers your question. Oh, read everything. Just continue to read. Participating here is a great start, but like, just find like the blogs that you love reading and just get after it. Stay up on it. You'll have more time now than you ever will in your entire life. So just start diving in.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you got it.
Can I ask one more question, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
So what space or market do you believe is going to be a huge market in the next 5 to 10 years that other people believe is not?
Oh, you're going for like the teal ecosystem question?
Sure.
That other people don't believe is going to be a big market.
It's definitely a teal-esque question.
Yeah, that's teal-esque. That's a long question, Abe. What markets that I think is going to be big that other people don't think is going to be big? It depends on like people. Like people are focusing on like machine learning and messaging, genetics, robotics, technology. You know what people don't realize? I think people don't realize the number of like dirty industries that are going to be revolutionized. Like if you have a huge market cap, and you're in a category that's not sexy. I love the not sexy industries. One of the most interesting ones that we didn't invest in because it was a little further along, but is really interesting, is in waste management. Now, if you ask me to like talk and have an interesting conversation about like waste management, it's gonna be hard. If I told you like self-storage was gonna be one of our most interesting investments, like you probably look at me cross-eyed. But those categories where it's like just really shitty, dirty industries that nobody's paid attention to, like it's really fun to talk about like communication and messaging and machine learning and all those things. I love like huge swaths of our economy that are going to be totally revolutionized because the people running those big businesses and brands like never had a social graph and wouldn't know the first thing about like code and like those are the categories that I'm excited about. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but like that's where I'm spending.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're the man. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Hey,
take care.
You got it, bro. Let's get some girls in the mix if we could. Love to see if any women came in. Dylan, do people tell you all the time that you look like the Silicon Valley version of Macklemore? Yeah, let's answer that one. Yeah, they do. I think Greg Bettinelli has put out a few of those. There's a story where I'm at a medieval times wearing a weird hat for my friend D.A. Wallach's birthday, and I'm standing in a circle with two famous musicians and a very famous entrepreneur. And one of the guys at the thing walks up to me and says, like, "Good sir, might I have your autograph?" And I'm like, "No, why is he talking to me? Maybe I want to get to go play with a falcon or jam with one of the knights. Be really cool. And these two people are famous. He's asking me for my autograph. That's pretty awesome because nobody knows who the hell I am." And I go up and I'm like, "Sure, man, of course. Like, this is gonna be sweet. It's part of the act." Sign my name, Mazzeo, on the arm. And he looks at me. He's like, "Good sir." And I'm like, "Yes, kind knight." He goes, is this your real name? And I'm like, yeah, that's my name, Matt. He's like, but sir, are you not Macklemore? And yeah, so I get that a lot. Thanks for that, Dylan. Appreciated that. Let's see, Austin Giuliano. Luliano? Let's do that. Oh. What?
I said, thank you for saying my name. So I was cooking, so I had to turn the heat off.
What's going on, man?
Hey, my name is Austin Giuliano. I run the website dscience.co. My question for you, Matt, is if you were the CEO of Twitter, what would you do to change it around?
Jesus. Awesome. I wish Chris had a blog post about that. He did have a blog post about that. You know, let's see. What would I do to change it around? We talked a little bit about this. I think let's not compare myself to let's not put a comparison of like Jack or Dick or any of those people in there. What would I do to turn it around? I think they were actually like focused on all the right things right now, like launching great products, iterating faster, making a leaner engineering team, focusing on richer media. Like I love the idea of like the richer media categories, and I think that narrative hasn't necessarily fallen through the right way because these products seem sort of like satellite right now. But like I think Vine is an extraordinarily compelling product. I think what's it called? Periscope is an extremely compelling product. I think Moments is a great product. Like there are all these different use cases built on top of the massive information graph. And so I would spend a lot of time thinking about the content verticals that you can start to build and curate out of what is the current massive fire hose. And I think that goes into purchase. I think that goes into like all of those things. I also think they're just going to start making really interesting strides on the video ecosystem. Like I think they made a huge step by starting to think about talent and how talent gets compensated there. I think people underestimate how valuable that was to YouTube dominating in the early days of video. And I think that move is like kind of went to the news and it didn't get thrown out there as massively as it should have, because like the idea of like aligning incentives with your biggest content creators is really, really interesting to me. And so those are things that I would focus on. Thank God I'm not. Thanks for the question. I lost you. Sorry. Let's see. More questions. We started the first one. Blah, blah, blah. Is Chris still picking deals? Let's do this. I don't know what this question is. Dovi, Dunhua Capital. Hey, Matt, is Chris still picking deals? How come you guys can manage and scan so many early stage deals with only 2 partners? Do you really sleep? We started our first fund with 90 million in asset. Understand. I don't know the rest of the question. Yeah, I sleep. I don't know. This is like the thing that I love to do more than anything else in the world. So I get to do it all the time, and it's a lot of fun. I get to like meet with entrepreneurs and ask them really fun questions and like have just debates with people who are way smarter than me and pick their brains. And so it's kind of what I do by it's what I would do by default if I could. So it doesn't feel like crazy work to me. I think if this felt like work, it'd be a really exhausting job. But I love those conversations in those moments. I can kind of do it without getting tired. I feel more energized by having those conversations. You build pattern matching. I know that's like a terrible VC like term for like how do you identify things that you love, but like you start doing rubrics around talent pattern matching. It's frankly you start to pay attention to signals earlier for things that you really want to dive into. We have great network of founders and co-investors that we co-invest alongside. Part of it is that I'm also we're built as a collaborative fund, and so we can sort of partner in and dive in with other teams. We don't have to take the entirety of a round because we're a relatively small fund. This last fund, which we closed end of last year, is only is a little under $50 million, and so we can kind of like piggyback and dive in without having to we don't take board seats. I think that helps. I don't think we have a religion around that stuff. And frankly, at the earliest stages, the best stuff happens outside of boardrooms. So we do a few things structurally to help manage time, paying attention to signals, where the deal's coming in from, is there a product live, can you play with it? Like those things help you build faster momentum around deal analysis. And luckily more and more of the deals that we're seeing now, even at the pre-seed stage, are beyond just ideation and are at like a product live. I can tell pretty quickly by playing with the product how I feel about it and how the story is being built by the founders. I love it, those things. Thanks for the question, Toby. Catherine Short, KSS Creations. Hey, how are you? Catherine, you always come to these live things that I do on like Periscope and Meerkat, and I love that. Thank you for doing it.
Well, I try. I actually have class in 30 minutes. So.
Oh, congrats. What are you taking a class in?
Actually, I'm just taking general studies right now, but
Cool.
I'm a photographer, so
Awesome.
I don't know, something to do in my spare time.
I'm taking a government class with my sister right now. I never took like Harvard's intro to U.S. politics, and neither did she, and so we're doing it on edX right now.
Oh, cool. My next class is airbrushing.
Cool.
I'm a huge fan of like extracurricular classes.
I love that. Lay it on me. What's your question, Catherine?
What made you switch hats from becoming like a creative agent to working for Chris and doing this sort of thing?
Well, so I was always like I was always doing this. So at CA, I wasn't like your traditional agent. So my job was actually like helping start companies there. I opened an office in San Francisco to basically start covering venture the way that colleagues of mine covered studios, networks, sports teams, leagues, and brands. I covered venture funds, entrepreneurs, sometimes doing outsourced business development for tech companies like Tencent and Ustream and RockU and a bunch of others. And then eventually starting companies from scratch from within CAA where we had the opportunity to bring in brand partners or clients. And so we started companies like Funny or Die there, where we were building business plan, raising venture funding, bringing in management, helping operate those companies in the early days. And so I loved sort of being in both of those worlds. And I love the company. The clients are the most fun, super creative. I thought I would die in a suit in that Marvel building. But
yeah.
every while you find somebody who like makes you an offer that you sort of can't refuse. And like life pivots around those moments. And so when Chris asked me to come in as his partner, I knew I'd have an incredible mentor. I'd have freedom. It's kind of like, Willy Wonka, bringing you into his factory and just being like, here's the brand. Here's how we do it. I'm going to teach you everything you don't know. And you're going to be in the driver's seat. And that's something you kind of can't turn away. And it wasn't planned. It sort of came out of left field, and been the best decision I ever made. I love it. And I'm
Cool.
really lucky to do it. So that's how it happened.
It wasn't his shirt.
His
Just a
cowboy
grad
shirt?
Yes,
No, he
grad shirt.
loves to make fun of me because I asked in the very early days, like, do I have to wear a cowboy shirt? Because if so, that's deal breaker.
You're like, that's not part of the attire.
No, it's definitely not the cowboy
Cool.
shirts. His style choices are not my fave. But that's his bit. Catherine,
Cool.
It's great to see your face. Enjoy class.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it going. Are there any other questions over here that we should? What does it mean to be a hustler? Let's do one of these. What does it mean to be a hustler? It's kind of unfair because I get to pick the questions. Answer question. Avery, Matt, what does it mean to be a hustler? To be a hustler, bunch of different things. The basics of hustling are just like, people talk about like working longer, working harder. I think those are like platitudes, frankly. I don't think that's actually what being a hustler necessarily means. I think there's a bunch of different ways that you could go about it, but like, I think being a hustler starts with adding value to other people without asking for anything in return in the short term. Like that for me is like scrappy, awesome hustle. It's not just like breaking down doors and not taking no for an answer. Like those things I don't think are necessarily it. I think a lot of it comes from starting to add value to other people. And like there's a moment that happens when you complete a task or you have an objective in front of you where you're like, okay, I'm done. I completed objective X. I'm on to objective Y. I'm just going to keep moving. And there's another moment that happens if you're a real hustler where you say, I'm going to go one step further to delight on objective X. And like that moment of pause that forces you not just to work harder and do more and move to the next thing and check things off on a task list. But to like stop and be creative about adding more value after the fact is like, I think what differentiates, like it's the handwritten thank you note. It's like the attention to detail after the fact when you do those things that I think like can differentiate those hustlers. Not shortcuts. I think people talk about shortcuts as like a hack. Hustler used to have like a really bad connotation until Gary Vee like co-opted it and made it like the you know, the primacy of life. But like I think it's those extra moments, like the extra detail, attention to detail, can differentiate somebody as a true hustler. That's actually a lot of the hustle that I look for. And actually, I brought on a coordinator at Lowercase. It's sort of one of our first hires. Really, really smart guy named Jackson Dahl, who impressed the hell out of me because he took notes and summarized those notes after we had a coffee. And not only that, but like posted them out, and they were really thought. He somehow out of an hour-long coffee ripped apart sort of the most poignant things. He had great insight, great brain, but that extra moment of hustle and like of synthesizing the information after the fact and adding value, even though it wasn't like required, nobody asked, nobody said, impressed the hell out of me. And so I think the extra step differentiates somebody who's just a hard worker from a hustler. Boom. Let's keep it going. Sean Green. Sean Green. Oh, and then we'll do Kanye. Kanye.
I'm in LA. Are you in LA?
I'm good, man. Where in the world are you?
Okay, we've got to connect.
I'm in LA.
Brad.
Well, we just did.
Brad Feld said he was going to see if he could reach out to you and see if we can actually sit down. Do you know Brad? Yes.
Okay. Brad Feld's awesome. Yeah. Brad's a huge supporter of the fund and great guy. The books
exactly.
he writes, the first reading material you'll get as a young VC.
Nice.
Thank
you for selecting
those books when I first started.
And one of the things is who are your mentors? Is what I want to tell. And when you sit down with them, how do you prep and what are you looking to take away from your mentors? And then number two is like from your advisory board, like what are the top things that founders should look to extract or to get or to leverage from their advisor?
Oh, wow, good one, man. I think the thing that has defined my path more than anything else is finding those mentors. I think that's like one of the biggest challenges today. And like, I believe that almost every business today is an apprentice business. And you have to find those people to like pull you up and beat the hell out of you along the way and like take enough of an interest to like make you better. And so I spent like, if I could focus on one thing for like, that's the kid who asked earlier, like, what should I be focused on as a high school kid? Like mentorship is everything. I'm like the luckiest person ever to have gotten and found a bunch of these mentors. And so I could go down a list, but it's like, I mean, Saka's there.
My mom's a hustler too, so I can appreciate
Mazzeo,
that.
like hustler beyond belief. Bless her heart. Can't get on Facebook. But she's a killer. My Michael Yanover, Richard Lovett, Michael Rubel, Brian Lord, the guys at CAA, the partners there, Doc, like Kevin Huvane.
Wow.
I had like the craziest group of this team at CAA who were the best agents you'd ever meet in your entire life, and great, incredible people, like just to their core, amazing people who took a bet on me and let me sort of run wild in all things tech and digital when people weren't paying attention. And like, it was sort of this mentorship of like letting me have enough rope to hang myself and still beat me up when I needed it. Like I'd go into every meeting with them. You want prep? I'd go into review meetings with those mentors, and I'd ask what I could be doing better every single time. Susur and I talk about this. He's been a great mentor too. Like I asked them to beat the shit out of me. I think I say it like that, beat the shit out of me every time. What do I prep in addition? I usually try to go in there with like something that I can like do to add. You always do your homework on all of those meetings, so always find out what they've been up to and like have an opinion or have a thought on how you could help or deliver value to. In the early days, it's like like I said this earlier, all about delivering value first before ever asking for anything. not everybody's going to be your mentor. You can't ask somebody to be your mentor. That's like kind of weird and creepy. But you can get like, you can get a lot by just like doing stuff for other people. In the early days at CA, like I'd go into people's offices and I just like, I knew how to use PowerPoint really well. So I'd like make up PowerPoint decks for them, like who aren't my agents, just people that I could help out on. And so I don't know, like that kind of stuff. Ed Hu and Tom Hudnut from my high school were great mentors. I had a professor named Ellsworth Firsch who called me Mr. Mazzeo through college. Ellsworth was a PhD in English, law, and psychology, one of the first forensic psychologists ever, helped define that division for the FBI.
Wow.
And also taught me sort of an entire class on psych and law, which I almost failed. And then an independent study. I was very fortunate to have people who took bets on me along the way. And it's like one of the things I'm most grateful for. Made me way better.
And so
hopefully that answers your question. You had another one about advisory.
On our advisory, both who we mentioned and people who remain unmentioned. And I was wondering, we put out, right now we're trying to put out a bi-weekly recap, and just trying to figure out who can, like, how to extract the most value from your advisory. Like what are your points regarding that?
Yeah. Okay, so communication is everything. So like as fast as you can get updates out, the better you'll be. Stay in front of those people at all times. Like we spend a lot of time with our founders teaching them how to write like those investor updates and how to make it public and how to structure them so you're constantly like feed them the right information and then put asks in every one, specific asks, like and make everybody's busy, everybody's crazy busy, and so do as much of the work up front for those people. I know that they're incentivized and want you to succeed. But like there's a difference between the founder that says, hey guys, do you have anybody that could be a great designer or developer? I need help recruiting. And then the one who says, here's the social media post that you should put out alongside like an asks for that job. Like make it easy to help. Thank yous and shout outs create social pressure. And so positive reinforcement for the investors that are doing stuff. Everybody who's an investor looks at that list of other co-investors and says like, that person's getting shout outs. I don't want to be the freeloader, the lazy freeloader. Because Chris and I will remember that shit of who are the lazy freeloaders on every deal. And that's you're the only way you differentiate today is, are you adding value? And so giving back credit and due for those moments is important. What else do I have for you? Know the strengths and weaknesses of your investor and advisory group as you're going into it, and like tailor your questions to those specific people.
Okay. Helps. And are you a fan of contemporary art?
Does that help?
Okay.
No
way.
What do you mean?
Okay.
I'm a LACMA member.
We should grab coffee.
No big deal.
I'll hit you up.
Again, next time you ask me out for a date, Sean, you want to go to LACMA?
That rain exhibit is crazy.
I want to see that rain exhibit, man. I got to see the downpour rain exhibit. That's all I got. I gotta go. Sean, I love you. I'm kicking you. All right, Kanye. He's the best. The people that don't know Kanye, I'd love to introduce him. He's the happiest VC. Look at that smile.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, look at this.
My concern and challenge as another young VC is around feedback loops and the relationship between inputs and outputs. So I'm a young person. I want to put a coin in the machine and get my candy out. And as a VC, I feel like I put my coin in the machine, wait 7 years, and then get my candy out.
10 years, 12 years with late stage financing.
Right. And gosh, I feel like it's really hard to build learning cycles and as a result build wisdom as a young VC that way. And I'm wondering, how do you find ways to hack getting wisdom more quickly, and B, how do you just manage that psychologically? Because I feel like I don't have any output, and so I don't have any idea how the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, not only that, but like
oriented.
Any signals you might pay attention to, get distorted in up and down cycles, right? Like everybody looks like a genius right now because there's so much late stage financing sloshing around that like it makes it even harder to pay attention to the proxy signals like Series A, Series B. Follow-on financing might not be the biggest cue anymore. Paper gains are nice to have, but doesn't correlate.
What do you do?
So what do you do? Honestly, I struggle with it too. I think I benefit a lot from having somebody who's been in this cycle for almost 10 years now and sort of can keep me focused on like the things that matter. Like you focus on process, not results, and you hope that the results come there. Like focus really in on like building strong thesis for the companies that you're backing, things that you're proud of, regardless necessarily of outcome. Like sometimes you can't control those crazy exits at the end. Do as much homework in advance in terms of like trying to avoid the misses. What else? The things you can focus on that I think will even out in the long run are like, are founders recommending you for future fundings of like their friends? Are you getting a founder who's maybe a second-time founder coming back to you? If this job is three things, right? It's like site, selection, and service. You can build those processes better and better, right? And so like, am I seeing all the deals that I want to see? Are there deals going by me? Like measure yourself based on that, because that's something you can impact immediately. The service, selection is the hardest piece of this because sometimes you don't know. You can track some of those things with follow-on financing. Again, like we talked about, I think it's harder than ever to get that feedback loop down, but you can start to see indications earlier. And so like acknowledge your misses faster and see if you can learn from those. And then the service piece is the one you can control the most, right? Like this is the one that feeds back into all of those other categories. And so like, are you getting those shout outs on founder emails? Are you getting the founders being like, hey, here's the three seed stage people. And you and I work together on a couple now, and I see your name on a lot of those. So you're kicking ass on it. And you're known and traveling, and like you're on the, you're out there and people know you. And so my gut says that you're seeing a lot more deals because your name gets brought up every single time. And I see you, you and I are like user to zero on a lot of these platforms that like, you can tell that you're hustling to get on those things. And so I think the feedback loops you pay attention to are like recommendations from founders, and like feedback from mentors but who have been through a couple cycles. I spend a lot of time trying to get that feedback. Ask people to beat the shit out of you because the other stuff either is distorted or takes too long.
I liked when you said that before. Well, and thank you for those nice words. That wasn't looking for that. You are obviously somebody I look up to as a peer and as a mentor. So it means a lot to hear you say that.
I love you.
Very, very, very last question.
Yeah, keep it going.
How you doing?
How am I doing? I'm great, man. I'm like happy, healthy. My family's doing well. Brother, sister, happy, healthy. Mom's healthy. Dad's healthy. I got good friends. I love the job. I might be the luckiest kid you know, man. It's a good time.
All right. Well, I'll stop hogging the mic. Thanks, man.
You're the man. Bye. Who else do we got in here? Does anybody want to come in and play around a little bit in this thing? Sorry, I'm looking at, so on the sidebar, I don't know if you guys can see these. I'm looking at like the most popular questions. Okay, let's go with this. The most popular one right now, Abe's story. Oh, you already got one. Damn, I already clicked. What is one thing you hate to see founders do say during an initial VC meeting, and one thing you love? One thing I hate is like founders who try to rush you into making decisions based on false timing pressure, or founders that will lie about the realities of a fundraising round. This industry is really, really small. We collaborate with everybody. If you think you're gonna sort of get one over or push people into a decision, I get no FOMO in moments like that. I would just sooner not do it, and I pass all the time on great deals because the timing wasn't there for me to build my thesis strongly enough, and I'm not rushed in deals, and I'd rather not be hasty in making those decisions. The other thing that I love to see is, and I ask, especially in the early stage, you sort of are as much doing a psychological analysis of the founders as you are a business analysis of the company. And so I ask a lot of sort of somewhat vague questions that I think trip people up. But one of them is like, what's your vision? what does success look like to you in those moments? And like, you can sort of tell the mercenaries from the visionaries, like the people who are who believe that success is tied to the outcome of the business as an exit. Like, we believe we'll be acquired by X, or we believe this is a quick turnaround. Doesn't get me going. Doesn't make me excited about working on a product like that. We're not looking for those. I get really excited when the founder talks about solving that problem that they're setting out to forever and eradicating a problem. And like, that is really, really exciting to me. It's like when you measure your success and don't reference the problem that you're trying to solve, it's a key for me. And I probably shouldn't be saying that because it's one of the things that maybe people optimize for now, but like, that's become one of the things that helps me really sort of flip up like a little bit of like, who's going to be in this for the right reasons. Because when the exit doesn't happen in 2 years and you're struggling to raise your bridge or Series A, and that flip isn't there, the thing that keeps you grinding is going to be like, the problem still exists and we're solving it the best way we know how. And nobody solves it better than us. And I believe the problem is worth solving. And so those are the things that I think motivate really great founders, not the exit. At least one of the themes I've found. Thanks, Abe. All right, let's, David Diamond, you've been in here for a while and you're from Ireland. Chris would be really upset if I didn't bring you in. Hey, David, what's going on?
Good.
You a designer?
Yeah, I'm a designer. I'll stick to your intro rule. So I'm a 15-year-old founder of Divi. I'll give you background on that later. Yeah, and I'm a designer from Dublin. I would call myself a hustler. Pardon?
You skipped your quinceañera for founding a company?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really see the point in the whole high school thing. So yeah. Okay. So like, rebound question on that. At the end of that question, it said, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self? Sort of one loosely connected to that. What advice would you give to younger founders in general? And what should they be working on? What experience should they be gaining other than the mentorship? I know that you talked about that before.
Yeah, I again, like, there are outliers here that have become lionized, I think, in our society, and we talk a lot about those things. I think you might have like this crazy insight on a product that you believe you have the vision on how to solve, and we love talking about those founders, and there are some incredible examples. You don't have to be old to start a business nowadays, right? You can have that great insight, understand human nature, launch a product and scale that product to millions of users and not have to be, an MBA grad to do any of that. And so like, if you're motivated and that's what you want to do, fantastic. But I firmly believe, and you can build, by the way, incredible skills in the process of doing that. And I don't believe that you necessarily have to have formalized education. I think a lot of our educational process has failed this generation and generation before. But I do believe in building those hard skill sets and in a rigorous process towards self-reflection that I think comes from academia and and self-questioning. And so build, like, the other thing is, like, a lot of friendships come out of that experience that you might miss, right? Like, you're in this bubble. Being a founder, you put yourself in this crazy bubble where you're like away from people, where you aren't necessarily like seeing the broader universe. You go so tunnel vision. And I see it with my own founders, even in their own ecosystem, where they like miss a lot of the world happening around them. Don't miss that stuff. You don't get 15 back. And so like, still continue to build yourself into a really interesting human being, not just build products. You're still in that stage of like, you are the product.
Yeah.
Like, focus on that. And so like, whatever product you're building, like, make sure that it is accretive to you as an individual, the stories that you're telling, to the relationships you're building, to the hard skills that you're nailing. I wouldn't judge performance of like this company as my sole output. I would judge like the externality of like, am I getting better at the things that matter to me? And sometimes at 15, just so you know, I was like in a file room in some like temp agency. I was like tutoring chemistry and like doing like totally disparate things that would never have come up. I was, in my career today, but like those service jobs and like made me better over time. And so if this is what you're passionate about, push it, go for it. But don't forget, like, all of these other things will make you much better in the process.
Yeah, like I'm gaining experience. Like I'm pretty much, I think it's unhealthy the amount of work that I'm doing at the moment, but like I'm just getting into like everything that I can and just designing. Somebody says, oh, I need something designed. I'm just like, I'll do it. And so I'm just like making all the connections I can, interning everywhere. Like I'm interning Intercom, which has been an amazing experience.
Great traction on that product.
Yeah. But yeah, like I get what you're saying. But like it's really what I'm passionate about, so it's hard to like do something else.
No, listen, this is if this is your like thing, this is what you're passionate about, and you're gonna push it, I'm all for it. I'm not telling you not to do it. What I'm telling you is we have an imbalance in this ecosystem, and you have to be a founder. It's almost like this like cult of imbalance, right? Like you talk about like the 100-hour weeks, and you gotta hustle, and you gotta be in it, and it's gotta be deep. And like at 15, like you should be thinking about a plethora of things to make you a well-rounded, balanced individual. Because the earlier you dive in on single category, this is why like I'm a firm believer in generalized liberal arts education too. Like the sooner you dive in, the more you bubble yourself. Like you live in this bubble of like social media anyway, where you start to like the feedback loops of personalization mean you don't get exposed to as much other shit. And I think early on, it's really important to get exposed to other shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Cheers,
thanks for your time.
Yeah, enjoy Dublin. All right, let's keep a couple more going. I don't know how long we said we'd do this for, but it's 1 o'clock. We got to get back to work. Let's do Michael Doran. Hey, Michael.
Nice to meet you, man. I was working and all my friends started pinging me on Slack because you were talking about my favorite subject, which is mentorship.
Yeah.
I've been a corporate recruiter for 20 years, and I personally mentored about a dozen people. And I've seen phenomenal results of people who are willing to listen and who really are eager to learn. But one thing I've noticed is that there's, and you kind of mentioned this too, is that mentorship discovery is broken online.
Yeah.
Like you made the comment a few minutes ago, like asking someone to be your mentor is really, really creepy. And people widely acknowledge that mentorship is really needed, but yet it's so difficult to get a mentor. I got one who was CHRO of Aon, and it was just because I was at the right place at the right time, and he recognized me for what I was and took some time to invest in me, made a huge difference. I wanted to just ask if that was a problem that you see as well.
Nope, disagree. I think it's gotten better. I think it's easier than ever to find great mentors. I think Twitter, social, seeing the graphs out there of who's connected to means that you can have warm introductions to almost anybody. I think you can start to contribute and ask questions and be value add without having to be overbearing. I think you can start to showcase and add value to people faster and more demonstrably than ever before. And so I actually think it's gotten easier than ever to find whoever you really want to be your mentor. I take a look at like what Elliot Bisnow has built at Summit Series in, whatever it is now, 7 years. And he literally owns a mountain. But it started with the idea of like, I want to find the 5 entrepreneurs who I love the most. And I'm going to literally fly them to a conference that I'm going to put on my credit card so that they'll be, it'll be fun for them. They'll all enjoy the experience. And eventually they'll become mentors and friends and all of those things. But he started just by reaching out over digital. And like, I think you have more insight. And so the tools at your disposal, it's about like the approach that you have. And I think that's the problem, is that like, there's nobody's created this brand around like, how do you get a mentor? How do you what's the process to getting a mentor? And it's like, that's what I'm trying to demystify a little bit, which is that like, it literally starts with like finding people out there that you respect, who have a similar moral compass or a drive, or that you want feedback from in the long run, and commit to spending real time making their life better or the life of something they care about better. And they will eventually notice that and give you feedback. Like if I were trying to break into a big VC fund today, I would start, if the 3 things that matter in VC are like site selection and service, which I said to Kanye earlier, I would start by going and adding value to all of those portfolio companies that partner that I want to be my mentor in the future sits on. And I would outvalue all of the other venture funds. I would deliver whatever it takes. Like the Ryan Graves approach to like, hey, Foursquare, I started doing BD on your behalf. Here we go. Or like, hey, Travis, hire me at Uber. Like, I'm already doing this hustle anyway. Like, I would just start by getting into the shout outs of every founder email being like, by the way, we're not paying this person, but they've been more valuable than all of other investors combined. Like, you can do that and you can get those feedback loops in, and that's the kind of signal that like drives you into those moments. But like, I actually think you have more insight nowadays than ever.
Yeah, you have more insight, but I think that I kind of agree with you in the sense that there needs to be a little bit more organized system and kind of enabling those relationships and those connections, or maybe giving the information to the people who haven't gotten to that point or heard you talk or someone else talk, that can kind of teach them what they need to do to start getting on the people's radar.
Yeah, I think it's a really simple formula. Identify the people that you want to learn from and have taken interest in you. See what matters to them most. Like, and if it's all out there, we're all talking about like the products that we care about or the causes that are important to us. You can find more insight into the psychology of anybody than ever before. Start adding value to the people in that person's orbit or that person directly, and then ask for time.
Yeah.
And if you follow that process, I think you can actually build pretty incredible mentors, and it scales on itself, right? So you find one person, and eventually you start getting better and better at doing this. And I think that's step by step of what I would do.
Thanks,
Michael.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Bang. All right. What time do we say we do this till? Are we over? No. Still 200 people here. Hey, Don.
Hey.
Yeah, you got an incredible microphone. Did I lose you? Was it the microphone joke?
Oh, you know what? Here. Am I there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry.
Okay, great. So my name's Dawn Carter. I'm the director of marketing.
Don, you keep going in and out. Yeah, you keep going in and out. Sorry.
Oh, I'm dying. Oh my gosh.
Keep going. Bring it.
Okay. Hey. So if you can hear me, so I just have to say the barriers have been removed nowadays. You are so spot on. So that people that are reinventing themselves or are connectors by nature, you literally just bring value. And I think being the first ones, so you have 0 followers on some of these new platforms, if it is a way that you just hit it spot on without asking. So anyway, I just have.
That's it? No question? Don, you're breaking up. We're breaking up. You're getting kicked.
Am I breaking up?
Don was too slow. Sorry. Ooh, see, I love esports. Let's dive in here. Corey.
Hello. So I'm Corey.
Corey.
I was doing esports gambling.
Oh God, we don't touch gambling businesses, Corey.
I pivoted. We
Okay.
don't do gambling anymore. We do esports media.
I love that.
So
I'm a big League of Legends fan, and I think soon I'll have an announcement to make in that space. I've made a few investments in that category.
Hopefully, one's called esports clips. No, that's what we're called.
What's your question?
I'm just wondering, like, we're getting ready to raise like a 600K seed round, and I'm wondering, how do you normally tell founders to go about like reaching out to investors, like early seed kind of round investors? Like, I have a lot of reach with VCs, but they're just like, it's too early. Like, we would be more like a Series A.
And know who you're going after in terms of like fit. Get social proof, create FOMO with some of those investors, because that drives a lot of quick investment decisions early. Find people who are passionate about esports. Not that hard. There's a bunch of early investors who are making angel investments in complementary businesses in esports that you can get into nowadays. Build as much social proof for yourself and for the product or for the category that you're in. Build a really strong narrative for why you're the best in that category. Hopefully you've got all those materials in place. The more you can do in terms of proof point while bootstrapped, the better. So if that's like, I built a team and now we're ready to go, or it's I built a team and a product, fantastic.
Yeah,
I built a team and a product and launched, and we have X users and they love us. All of those things are like great steps towards like building a more defined narrative. And so like whoever you're talking to, like each investor fits a different risk profile. Identify investors who fit along your risk profile. And so early angels or friends and family might be willing to take a deeper risk on you because you are compelling and because they love you and they want to do it without having the proof points there, and they've known you for what looks like 25 years. But
so side question on the FOMO. Do you feel like it's what's the best way for founders to emphasize the FOMO? Is it really like the closing of the round day? Is it like the industry it's in? Is it like just
can't bullshit on any of it. FOMO gets created by like everybody talks, right? So like you can pick up a phone and call almost any other investor. It's all out there. Everybody's reachable, and so no bullshit. Just like FOMO gets created by like making those incremental steps and then getting to close. So you need to have somebody who takes the first leap or like the first little slug of it, and then and then start having that conversation with other investors saying like, hey, this is going to move. This is going to go. I just don't believe in like the false dates. I don't.
I didn't mean false. I just meant like, is it really like, listen, you get your lead and then it's like, listen, this is good go, this is good close, this is who we have, or is it before you even have your lead? It's just more like, this is the right team, right industry.
Sorry. I'll be more specific. It doesn't start with FOMO. It starts with conviction from one person or a group of people, and those people take it early. And after that, you can like to get to close. You can drive FOMO quickly if you pull the right levers. But like at the beginning, I think especially at the seed stage, where people are willing to like sit back a little bit, it's conviction. Either people who have conviction in you or conviction in your product, or both. Hopefully both.
Okay, that was my question.
You got it. Hey, have a good one. Oh, we got Sean. Sean! I'm giving you props.
Are you hanging in there? You sweating?
No, this is fun. We got a good crew in here, man. Like a bunch of good friends came in. It was fun.
This is good. You've been going an hour strong, so I just want to let you know if you need to hop off, don't worry, you're not a jerk. Okay. If you do need to leave. But I did want to pull one question in here that I would have asked myself, but Elizabeth already typed it, which was, what was your first job?
First job ever. Oh, by the way, for people that don't know, Sean built Blab. Sean's a good buddy, works in Monkey Inferno. The team behind this partnered with Michael Birch. He's built an incredible product. I think understands live streaming and video formats and sort of the evolution of this space, as well as anybody I've talked to. And so high five to Sean for building a really awesome product, dude.
Thanks for the intro, dude.
What was my first job? I guess I was an assistant in my mom's real estate agency on the weekend. So my mom is an assistant to a real estate agent, has been since I was a little kid. What's it called? I would go in on the weekends because I'd work from like 9 a.m. to 5 and do homework at the desk and basically get to like do all of my homework while getting paid and just manage the desk. And then I could like do my sports, I'd play water polo or whatever. I'd go out at night and have like a blast. I made like way more money than I ever thought I would as a little kid. I also was a chemistry tutor for a long time. I'm a big chem nerd, loved it, like Chem Olympiad as a kid. We could go like heavy metal theory all day long. I love that shit. And then later I was what's it called? I ran Harvard Student Agency Cleaners. So I ran a dry cleaners. And then after college, first job after college was I was in the mailroom at CA. I was an assistant to an assistant and then got into the mailroom at CA. So that was like first real career job. 8 years there, and here we go.
Love it. Cool. No, I appreciate that. I mean, I know Chris has talked about this before, and you mentioned it earlier, which is, having different life experiences before you kind of hone in on what you're going to do for maybe 20 years. So I tell everybody to go study abroad, go live somewhere else, go get some other experience, go work a shitty job. And I wanted to know if you had any of those shitty jobs under your belt.
Oh, no question. I had all of those shitty jobs. Like, by the way, I cleaned toilets for for the reunions, so that I could then be a bellhop at the reunions and make like a little bit of cash around the like alumni stuff. Like, there was no shame in that space. Whatever it took to get the job done.
Very cool. Well, I'll let you go, man.
Hey, man. Thanks again for putting this together. The live abroad, I want to reemphasize that. Like, we actually take that as a major filter for a lot of our founders is like, have you spent time at the mercy of another culture? Had been forced out of your own bubble. I lived in New Zealand as a kid. I spent a year in the South Island of New Zealand in a town with 2,000 people called Arrowtown. And it was like an old gold mining town. And it for a kid who grew up in LA and big city, it was the greatest change of pace I ever could have asked for. And I think made me a much, much better person for having that experience. Love me some New Zealand. All right, we're gonna do last one, and then we're gonna jam off of here. Let's see. Rob. Oh, bye, Elizabeth. Hey, Rob. What's going on?
Cool. So I run a design agency that basically a product design agency, so industrial, physical stuff. What would you say? I know a lot of your investments in digital products. What would you say the main difference is between physical and product and like digital-based startups? What are the main sort of differences in risk?
What's the main differences in risk?
Yeah, and sort of any advice you have for like startups wanting to go into the product space.
Are you so you're asking about like startups focused on software versus focused on hardware?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Risk calculation that you're making there.
Yeah.
We don't do a ton of hardware investments, candidly. It's not a category that we're as well versed in. We've done a couple, one that I can't quite announce yet, but the hardware space, I mean, like, again, you know, if you talk to a few people, Nate Bossart at Coastal Ventures, I think, has a really great thesis around like physical products, that we're going to start to see the same shift and disruption around physical products that we've seen recently in software products, like iterative design, 3D printing, cost of manufacturing, maybe the macro shift to like manufacturing coming back to the US and Mexico, like doing to physical products what software has happened, what software has done to a lot of other businesses recently. We tend to focus like on software stuff just because the opportunity to scale is just so massive today. But scale, measurement, you lack some of the logistical challenges there. Physical products, it's really hard to get.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like I've seen a lot of hardware products lately that I think are really, really cool and interesting. Like Lily, I think, is one of the coolest products ever. It's really awesome. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's amazing little drone that like flies up. The video is spectacular. And I would totally be a buyer of that product, right? And I think like I go on Kickstarter more than anybody and have probably, impulse backed like more thing. Like there's a whole closet of stuff here that I like will never touch, but I impulse back it just as something to have.
Like the next big revolution is product. The digital sort of it's going pretty strong, but product seems to be it's something happening, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten. I mean, you've got disruption in like disruption in production in 3D printing, disruption in distribution in like Kickstarter and funding in Kickstarter. You got a whole bunch of interesting things happening in physical products. I worry that the time cycle still favors like big incumbents in a way that like startups and software don't necessarily have the same challenge. That like you might build a great drone product, but in order to get to the scale that you need and build the ecosystem and distribution with retailers that you need, you still have these friction lines that I think are really hard to overcome that you don't struggle with in digital, in software. And so those kinds of things concern me a little bit, and frankly have kept us less exposed to hardware than maybe we should be. Maybe that's a miss.
Yeah.
But cool. I'm excited about it. And there's a couple products that I'm looking at now. Like I said, we did one just from a team of just absolute vets who are killer in that space. But I'll make an announcement about that soon.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Cheers.
All right. I think that's it, guys. I think we're gonna call it. One, this was super fun. Thanks for joining. Really, really fun. Questions were awesome and fun too. It's kind of strange to be put on the spot, but hopefully it was a little bit entertaining. We had like 200 people, almost 1,000 people show up the whole time. So that was really fun. I love this live streaming stuff. I think it's fascinating. I think the idea of having like the intimacy of this, you guys are like actually in my house. Hey, there's no like, hiding behind like an army of AMA bots like here. It's me literally on the fly answering this kind of stuff. So that's super fun for me. And then I just wanted to say, whenever you have an audience like this, it's really great to like throw a shout out to something in causes or charity. And so we love Charity Water. If you haven't checked it out, please do. They build wells in Africa for clean water. Scott Harrison's a good friend, and those guys are amazing. And my friend Yael Cohen at Fuck Cancer doing a ton to help spread the word around early cancer detection. She's amazing, and you should check out her charity, Fuck Cancer. It's really fantastic work that both of those people are doing, and I'd love if you guys would check that out. And the last piece is we're going to be launching a thing soon called Lowercase Alpha, which is like a challenge that I've had recently around how do I get early feedback. Kanye was talking about early feedback for like the venture cycle, but often I'm playing with products, and like he and I and like the other 100 people who are in this room are trying beta products super early in their life cycle, and I'd like to start to like broaden that out. So before something launches on Product Hunt, what I'm going to try to do for a handful of our portfolio companies and a handful of other companies is give people early access to like test flight, beta, alpha accounts of like some of the companies that are launching new products. And it'll be like a thing where hopefully you can just text back feedback and like give the entrepreneurs some loops. I'll have like a Medium post about it in the next few days, hopefully, and you guys can check it out. But ideally, I'd love this crowd specifically if you would join in on that and start to give some feedback to some of the companies. It'll be really, really fun. And yeah, keep an eye out for what Lowercase Alpha. So that's the jam. An hour and a half of live streaming. This is God bless whoever does this next. All right. Thanks, guys.